Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ANCP Communications webinar. Hopefully everyone can hear us all right. If there are any issues at this stage with the recording, just type into the chat box and we'll do some quick troubleshooting. Yes, we have sound. We are live. Excellent. So we are delighted today to have Annabelle Cousins from DFAT with us today about ANCP Communications. Before I hand over to her, we'll do some webinar housekeeping. The webinar will go for about an hour. During that time, you guys can just enter little questions into the chat box, and Annabelle will address those as she goes through the webinar. We might have some time at the end as well to do some wrap-up questions. If there are any technical issues, also use the chat box to put those in there, and we'll do some troubleshooting as we go along. We will be recording this webinar, and this webinar will be accessible by our YouTube channel, the ACFID YouTube channel. And we also ask that at the end of the webinar, if you can stay on to do a quick little survey so we can check that we're doing okay with these webinars and we can make improvements and we can deliver the kinds of things that you guys want to see in our webinar offerings. But without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Annabelle. It's just going to take a couple of seconds as we exchange headsets, and we'll get the webinar started.
Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second ANCP Communications webinar, nearly a year to the day since our maiden session. I'm Annabelle Cousins, and I'm the Communications Manager for the NGO Programs Performance and Quality section, the section that manages the ANCP. The format for this webinar is as follows. I'll start by covering our ANCP-specific acknowledgement guidelines and as set out in the ANCP manual. Following that, I'll cover the reasons why it's important to acknowledge Australian aid support for your achievements as partners of this program. I'll also cover your responses to this requirement and show examples of what we're looking for. After that, I'll detail some changes that are in the making, including additional acknowledgement requirements in the performance report header and project forms. Finally, a bit about what I'll be sending your way in July and what I'll be needing to receive in return. Said before, please type any questions as they'll come up and I'll try to answer them as we go along. If I can't answer it today, I'll take it on notice and get back to you. Final note that this is an ANCP communications session, so I won't be addressing any broad aid-related communications. Today is all about the ANCP. Last year, a dedicated acknowledgement and engagement section was included in the ANCP manual for the first time. This year, the section has been developed to include even more explicit and robust guidelines, clearly detailing how we need you to acknowledge the Australian Government through your ANCP projects. This section, Section 8 of the manual, has information on branding and links to the DFAT Australian Aid branding guidelines. It provides standard text for acknowledging the ANCP and for matched funding. This text should be used in annual reports, project summaries, videos, blogs, and website pages, wherever you need it. The section provides information on broader acknowledgement, such as verbal acknowledgement and informing beneficiaries. It also details the required social media hashtags and activity, including expectations regarding creating and sharing content. Finally, there's information about engaging with Australian High Commissions and embassies. The manual has three primary clauses regarding acknowledgement. Firstly, ANCP NGOs must acknowledge the support of the Australian Government through their ANCP-funded work. Acknowledgement is a contractual requirement and all NGOs should follow the guidelines in Section 8. Secondly, acknowledgement applies to everything referring to the program, including such things as project signage, publications, annual reports, events, websites, stories, articles, media releases, speeches, interviews, etc. Essentially, if you're referencing a project that is funded by ANCP, you need to provide an acknowledgement. The manual includes a list of opportunities for communicating about your ANCP-funded work. This includes verbal acknowledgement, which is a free and effective way of increasing understanding and support. For this reason, we ask that whenever you or your partners are talking to beneficiaries, you make it clear where the funding is from, Let them know the Australian government thinks it is important to help this project and that is why they are supporting your work. Also, when talking to heads of mission or MPs that may not be aware of and understand what ANCP is, please take the opportunity to explain how the program works and your achievements as ANCP partners. The final clause is that acknowledgement should be upfront and obvious. First and foremost, this is for transparency. Being upfront and obvious means the public in Australia or overseas are clearly and immediately informed of the extent of Australia's contribution. This transparency shows where and how Australian government funds are being used. Which leads me to branding, which increases the accountability and transparency of Australia's aid program. The correct branding for all ANCP-funded projects is the Australian Aid Identifier, the kangaroo. The Australian Aid Identifier must be used on all aid-related products and activities funded by ANCP. There are some situations, such as annual reports and instances where a partner government's crest is used, that both the DFAT coat of arms logo and the Australian Aid Identifier can be used together. In all instances, it's asked that you check with DFAT's communications branch before using the coat of arms logo, and the email address is in the manual. The branding guidelines and logo downloads are available from the Logos and Style Guides page on the DFAT website. Please refer to this page regularly to ensure you are using the current branding guidelines. Finally, a branding exemption may be granted if there is a compelling case or an identified security risk. You can contact the ANCP team directly to request an exemption. In most cases, signage is an obvious exception. You need to use our standard wording along with the logo. The manual now includes acknowledgement, matched funding, and accreditation text. Please use this wherever and whenever necessary, especially in annual reports, project summaries, videos, blogs, media releases, and on website project pages. The manual provides 4 options for general acknowledgement text, 2 for accreditation, and 2 for match funding. You can see one example of each here. As well as the acknowledgement text, ANCP project pages on your web pages should include the Australian Aid Identifier and a link to the ANCP web page. I'm going to quickly mention engagement with posts now, as I have quite a few things to cover in regards to social media, so I've grouped all that together. As stated in the manual, ANCP can provide contact details for ANCP focal points in posts overseas. We recommend that you provide posts with as much notice as possible when requesting meetings and provide posts with a clear purpose and agenda for the meeting. Posts are engaged in the review of ad plans and is beneficial for you to discuss new project designs and significant project changes with post prior to the submission of your ad plans. Implementing partners may also engage with post on public diplomacy opportunities to increase public exposure of activities and attendance at events, launches, and other forums. Now to social media, where we need your engagement. This includes following our relevant accounts, creating your own content, and sharing ours when we tweet or post about one of your projects. We have an ANCP Twitter list on @AusHumanitarian, which includes your handles. To our knowledge, 51 NGOs have accounts, yet we have only 7 followers. Please subscribe to this list and share and engage with each other. This list could be a really effective way for us to promote the collective efforts of our ANC partners to the public. This is a summary of the social media accounts that we, ANCP, use. ANCP has a yearly social media schedule, which is based on international days, key ANCP events, and M&E visits. In July each year, you'll be asked to contribute to this schedule, and I'll talk about this more later as there's going to be some changes this year. Please note that you are welcome to propose any ideas or put forward any further contributions at any other point of the year. As well as contributing to and engaging with DFAT content, you should create your own content for social media that promotes your Australian aid funded work under the ANCP. Opportunities for communicating about the Australian aid program and the ANCP can take many forms, including those listed here. Please note that we respect your independence in communicating about the Australian aid program in other ways, including any advocacy, campaigns, or fundraising activities. We have no comments or requirements as to how these actions are carried out. What we are asking in the manual is that when you reference an ANCP project, outcome, event, visit, or similar online, that you are transparent that it is an Australian Aid funded project and show your support of this program by using our hashtags and handles. Which leads to our hashtags. We have 2 hashtags and 2 handles that we use and ask you to use too. When referencing anything that receives ANCP support, NGOs should use the hashtag AustralianAid. This is our brand and is our primary hashtag. ANCP-related social media should also include the hashtag ANCP. This confirms that ANCP supports the project and allows us to monitor, capture, and engage with ANCP content. We also ask that you include our primary handle, which is @DFAT, or our secondary handle @AusHumanitarian. This combination of handles and hashtags will allow us to cross-promote your content and further the reach. Examples of specific acknowledgements are included here and more in the manual. Alternatively, we just ask that you include the hashtag AustralianAid and hashtag ANCP at the end of your tweet or other social media post and tag @DFAT. If possible, tag @AusHumanitarian as well. You should also encourage your implementing partners to use the hashtag AustralianAid and ANCP and the handles when appropriate. I've covered the what and the how, and now I want to cover the why. We want to work together to get Australian Aid messages out to the Australian public, because in this current environment, we need to collectively demonstrate the value of the aid program and work to shift attitudes around aid. We want to ensure the longevity of this program by clearly showing what can be achieved with ANCP support. The more positive stories that help us highlight the great work being done, the better. We've definitely seen an increase in ANCP and Australian Aid messaging as per the guidelines, and I really thank you for that, but there's still more to be done. Currently, of our 57 NGOs, 20 of you I would call highly engaged, which is creating your own content and contributing to and sharing DFATs. 18 of you are moderately engaged, either creating your own content or contributing to and sharing DFATs, and 19 of you are not engaged at all, not contributing to DFAT content or creating your own. And we do need to improve this. We need every ANCP NGO to contribute to DFAT-led content, to engage with this content when it goes live, and to be creating their own ANCP Australian Aid content. We all need to be promoting Australian Aid achievements, what this unique, substantial, global program does and why. We think ANCP offers fantastic opportunities for communicating about Australian Aid. We need you to support this program, to support our content with likes and shares, and to start your own as well. I've got here a few examples of the type of content we are encouraging. So it's retweets with comments that acknowledge our support, tweets with links to videos or articles, any more information around the projects. These examples are for Twitter only, but I'm obviously looking to see this across the board in Facebook, Instagram, and other social media accounts. Just a few more examples in that slide. All right, moving on, we're coming to the heads up. I'll now cover the changes that you'll see in your next round of performance reports. Heads up number 1 is there's a new header form requirement around acknowledgement of program participation and partnership. This section asks for links to examples of where you have publicly communicated about the achievements of our ANCP partnership. And that's the text you'll see within the header form. Heads up number 2, we've also revised the pre-existing project form requirement, and we are asking for more than photos showing logo use. Here again, we are requesting links to online content or other specific examples where you have acknowledged the support of the Australian government for your ANCP funded projects. And again, that's what you'll be seeing in your performance report in your project form. The final change is to case studies, and we'll actually be reducing the case study requirements. We'll be asking for 1 strong impact story rather than 3 case studies as in previous years. Next, we've got the coming soons. So as some of you will remember, completing the 2016 ANCP Communications Survey, which informed the ANCP communication strategy that I'm currently implementing. It's now time to evaluate the strategy and see what's changed since the first survey and what else still needs attention and improvement. Questions in the original survey include the frequency of our communications to you, how you prefer to receive those communications, how you're using social media, how you communicate about your work done with ANCP funding, and how your in-country partners are communicating about that work as well. So the outcomes from this survey will inform a revised 2018 ANCP communication strategy. Also in July, I'll be doing a call out for input into ANCP's social media schedule. The email will provide specific examples of what we are requesting, and will allow most of the month for submissions. Along with other changes, this year we will be requesting 3 final draft social media posts instead of just project summaries that we asked for in previous years. These 3 could be made up of 1 impact story, 1 Facebook post, and 1 tweet or a contribution to our DFAT blog, Australian Aid YouTube channel, or Instagram. This is used for use from our DFAT accounts as previously listed. We ask that you post at least 3 ANCP Australian Aid stories from your own accounts as well. Finally, thanks to those who responded to our request and shared their fantastic images for our banners. The banners were printed in March and they look fantastic. And these are the rest of them. There's 8 in total. And I wanted to end on a light and visual note and can think of no better way than these banners, which show the breadth of our program in sectors, themes, and regions. They also include keywords that we want the program to be associated with, including effective, partnership, locally led, sustainable, and unique. Thank you for your role in making this so, and for making sure our stakeholders are aware of this too. And finally, thanks for listening. Are there anyone got any questions? That went a lot more quickly than I expected. I think some people are typing now. All right, I can see when we'll be able to share the PowerPoint. Yeah, that will go up on the ACFID website, and we'll have the PowerPoint and this recording as well. Sorry, they jumped through, so I'm just having a look at the questions. The manual, the ANCP manual, there's a question about where it is. It's on the main ANCP page on the DFAT website. There's a question about the new requirements shared. So those new requirements are all within the manual. They've been there for a while. Any of the new requirements regarding the performance reports, you'll just see them in there. As far as the social media schedule, it will all be detailed in the email in July, and there'll be examples of what we're looking for. I've got a question to expand more on what will be required by the 3 social media posts. And yeah, so there'll be a lot more detail within the email that goes out. I'm actually going to show examples of each of the type of social media style and what we're looking for. And it'll be about 5. I'm going to provide about 5 examples for each type. And again, with there's a question around giving more information about the case study or the impact story. There are details that explain what we're looking for, and I'll be sending that in the email as well. I'll just see if I've got any more detail within my notes for you now. I mean, very top lines I have about notes about the case study is that we'd just be looking for it to start with an explanation of the issue, the need for the project and why it exists, and then some results, so demonstrating the outcomes using qualitative and quantitative information and explaining the benefits. We want a quote that will provide personal viewpoint that depicts individual or community level change, and then 1 photo that clearly demonstrates the project. But all that detail will again be within the email when we put the request out as well. There's a question here, is the kangaroo logo for both in-country and Australian communication? Yes, it is. The Australian Aid identifier, which is the kangaroo logo, is our primary logo. A final question, does the requirement to acknowledge ANCP every time a project is mentioned still apply when ANCP funding is a minor component of the total project? That's a good question. I'll probably have to take that one on notice. I think the answer for that may be no, that if we're only a minor part, but I'll take that one on notice, Owen, and we'll get back to you. Sorry, just scrolling through all the questions. I've had them all at the end. With the word limits on Twitter, for example, is the best way to acknowledge ANCP? What is the best way to acknowledge ANCP other than hashtag? The best way is through the hashtag, definitely. Hopefully with the expanded number of word limit on Twitter now, a hashtag ANCP is definitely the shortest and easiest way you can acknowledge the program. Also, I mean, there's tagging in photos, but for the way that we ask for ANCP is so I can track and monitor. So that is the best way. I've got a question. Can you give any advice on the range of different ways we can encourage partners to acknowledge the Australian government and ANCP? I'll just be saying directing them to the same content that's in the manual. What I've covered today is all within the ANCP manual. So definitely directing them to that. And if they're wanting more specific examples, happy for you to reach out to me directly and I can provide more examples to them. I've had a question. Are we able to find out where our organisation sits on the high, medium, low engagement scale? Not to help us, not to name and shame, but to help us assess our engagement. Yeah, that's from Genevieve. I can absolutely get back to you and let you know where you fit in within that. It'd be great if you could just send me a direct email and then I can respond to that. Owen asked, does providing social media posts as drafts mean that ANCP may well edit them? Yes, so the ones that we're going to use through our social media channels, we have to go through a DFAT approval process. There may be edits and changes to those. Owen, I'll definitely always go back to the NGOs if there's any changes and make sure that you're comfortable with the content that's going to be put out. I've been asked if Twitter is the main platform that you're encouraging NGOs to engage. No, we definitely use Twitter and Facebook and are really starting to move into Instagram as well. But Twitter and Facebook are the main two. There are the other channels that I pointed out, including the blog, there's Flickr and there's Australian Aid. We haven't had much in the way of contributions towards that, but we really happily receive any contributions. But again, the two main platforms we're really using at the moment are Facebook and Twitter. I've got a question. Should the AusAid identifier need to always be complemented with DFAT logo and printing banners, signages? No. So the primary one is just the Australian Aid identifier, mind you, not the AusAid. So it's the Australian Aid identifier, the kangaroo. That's the one to use. If you would like to use the DFAT logo as well, the point there was to contact our central DFAT communications team and they can provide advice on whether it's the right context to also use the DFAT coat of arms logo. Thank you. Much quicker than expected. Yes, it was for me too. I think I've reached the end of the questions. Sorry, if I've missed anyone, can I just put it in again? Sorry, there is another one now. On the social theme, there's also campaign for Australian Aid. Is this relevant? That's definitely a separate campaigning and advocacy hashtag, which you can use it separately. That's not our one. The one that whenever DFAT asks for you to be communicating about any funding is just hashtag Australian Aid. Another question, sorry, should we only, several, should we only acknowledge, oh wait, because I just get moving. Should we only acknowledge ANCP during the financial year the specific project received ANCP funding? Again, there's no specific answer to that at the moment. It's if it's receiving funding that year, then yes, and if it's no longer receiving funding, then we wouldn't naturally expect you to still be hashtagging or acknowledging ANCP if it's no longer receiving funding. But I can clarify that further if you'd like to write to me directly. I've got a question. Do you mean we need to use DFAT logo when using its funds? So yes, if the project is using DFAT funds, ANCP funds, we ask that you use the Australian Aid identifier, the kangaroo. All right, I'm at the end of questions again. Are there any more? Is there anything else I can help clarify for anyone? Great, and again, please just contact me. You can contact me directly anytime if you've got any questions. I am more than happy to help. So I have one more question. The manual for the ANCP manual on the DFAT website, on ANCP's main page on the DFAT website. So if you go onto DFAT website or just Google search ANCP, and then it'll take you to our main page, and it will be there. It also gets sent out to NGOs each year. And Emma's very kindly. Yeah, my email address. So my name's Annabelle Cousins. It's ANNABELLE .cousins, C-O-Z. Annabelle Cousins. It's ANNABELLE .cousins, C-O-Z-E-N-S @dfat.gov.au. And if you send anything through to the ANCP inbox as well, they'll forward any communications questions onto me. If that colleagues kindly putting mine in there. Yep. So contact me directly, or if that gets lost in translation, yeah, just send to ANCP inbox and that will forward to me. Right. I think we're calling that a wrap. Thanks everyone for your time and for listening.